What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Six Rings Kane Show, joined by Paul Austria and Danny Gillette. Let you guys know just a couple things before we get it going. We are an extension of Five Rings Canes and also, of course, Five Reasons Sports. You can make sure you check us out on the Five Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe, like the show, like the program, whatever you want to call it, like the website, like the YouTube channel, like it all. Subscribe, Make sure you give us a thumbs up, and also, again, thank you. And thank you, Manny, for putting this together. And, of course, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know, Danny, I feel like Danny has some choice words to say about this NIL stuff going on. Paul, I know you've got a lot of stuff there on recruiting as well. So, we really have a lot of things to go over. I know that, the name, image, and likeness has really kind of taken college football by storm. And to be honest with you, again, Miami's at the forefront. Trend setting, doing a lot of things that are different. We heard De'Ara King sign was sold by Sir, who's Marcus Rivera, who happens to be a personal friend of mine as well. So obviously he's doing great things for not only for college football, for the NFL, for any players that want to come and get their shoes customized. That guy's the man. So, I'm sure he's going to do big things with De'Ara King and some of the other guys on in the program. Excuse me. And throughout college football. So, but before we get to that, I think the biggest recruiting news that has come out today was Demario Tolan was announcing today which college he's going to choose, and right on with everything that we thought. He spurns the Miami Hurricanes, right, and commits to the LSU Tigers, and then Blake Baker posts a very nice and sexy Twitter message for everybody. Kind of a little bit of a knock on Miami, and rightfully so. You know what? He should trash talk. He just got Demario Tolan, and basically, Miami whiffs again on another high priority recruit. So
and a linebacker.
And altogether, right. And actually, the most important position I think in this year's recruiting class is the linebacker position. So, I want to start off there before we get into any of the other recruits that were supposed to, that committed this weekend and had Miami in their top 2 or top 3, including Jacoby Spells and Zane Durant and some of the other guys. But I want to start off with this one today. Demario Tolan, big blow. I think it's a big blow to the Miami Hurricanes recruiting because they need linebackers, man. Linebackers is such an important position on this team. And right now, to be quite honest with you, we've kind of missed on a lot of guys the last 3 or 4 years. Okay. And it's starting to show with our depth and our lack of, I don't want to say lack of talent, because I think some of these guys are talented. They're just not developing the right way. So they're not the ideal guys that we want here in the program. It is what it is. Talk to me a little bit, Paul. We'll start off with you on this one, because I know you mentioned it a little earlier with the Demario Tolan, committing to LSU. What does that do for the linebacker room? Not the linebacker room, but the actual linebackers that we're recruiting now. Do we kind of shift our focus to somebody else? And then I kind of want to get your take on, is Miami kind of in trouble? Are we starting to worry a little bit now about this recruiting class?
Well, to me, this kind of says twice the hurt involved, just because, let's say Tolan was basically one of 3 linebackers that they kind of had on their list of the guys that they want to zero in on, and they missed. And, you already mentioned it too, that this is already a position of need for Miami, and it's been a position of concern over the past few years. Just for some reason, while Manny Diaz has been defensive coordinator, or even head coach, they haven't recruited a lot of great linebackers. At least they haven't recruited a lot of great blue chip linebackers. They're getting a lot of 3-star guys. You'll get your Corey Flaggs, you'll get your Tyreek Austin Caves, you'll get guys like that. And don't get me wrong, they're good and they're very distinctive. They're fast. But like I mentioned last show, they need to stack up the blue chips. They need to really get these 4-star guys, these basically these guys that have a higher chance of becoming a successful player in college. And it, like I said before, it's weird because they, with their linebacker list, they zeroed in on basically 3 linebackers. So it was Wesley Bissainthe from Miami Central, Demario Tolan, and then it's Devin Jackson is the Nebraska guy. I think Jackson's not commit yet. Miami still has a great chance with him. But with Tolan, it definitely hurts just because like they kind of, with them deciding on these three guys that they want, they decided to kind of cut back on one guy that they were linked to was Omar Graham from Stranahan, who committed to FSU. It was weird because like Miami really did like him in the beginning. I guess communication just kind of just fell off, and once Miami made the decision, he decided to go to Tallahassee, which I can't blame him. And then also another guy who they were interested was Trey Nathan. I think he's either a 3-star linebacker from Gulliver, if I'm not mistaken. He's well known around South Florida too. And as far as I know, I haven't really heard about a lot of communication between him and the Mighty coaches. So, and to me, it's just weird that, now that they missed out on Tolan, are they going to go and reach out to a guy like Graham, say, hey, about that, we kind of need you now. So I'm really curious as to see, what or how they go about this now. I don't know if they're going to kind of find more guys to add to the list. And as far as recruiting overall, it's still Miami's still sitting at what three commitments right now with Ibieta, Rogers, and Brown. I think that I scale 1 to 10. I'm probably at a 3.5.
I'm being worried.
Yeah, that's my worry level.
Okay.
I still think that Miami will. I don't know, winning will solve everything. I think that once Miami starts winning, I think that, even with one loss against Alabama, that's totally fine, totally expected. But, once they start, putting together a good winning streak, I think recruits would definitely take notice. It could turn into a thing where, recruits will reach out to coaches instead of the other way around. So I still think it's very, very early, and it's still a time, like, think about it. The dead period only ended about a month ago, from the pandemic. So, a lot of recruits are still taking their visits. So there's still a lot of moving parts with this. So I still think that, even this is mostly just, I'm worried about this Tolan thing just because like it's a position of need. But in retrospect, I am not batting an eye, to be honest.
But it's only 3 recruits, right? It's only 3 guys right now. Even some of the programs that aren't winning too much, and I don't want to kind of compare myself to some program that has 15 recruits and they went 3-9 last year. I get that, but at the same time, it worries me a little bit, just a little bit, right? I might be a little bit higher than a 3.5. I might be more at like a 5 or a 6, just because we're missing on some guys that we really wanted and that were supposedly, really high on Miami, right? Zane Durant is a big blow, if you ask me. We're going to depend on some other guys, maybe like, I just don't know if we're in good enough with Bear Alexander. I know he came and he took his visit, but and I know there's some other guys that Coach Simpson and the defensive staff and even Manny are looking at on that defensive line. But it kind of worries me, man. It kind of worries me that some of these, talents that we've gotten in the past, like the Zane Durant and Jacoby Spells, kind of choosing West Virginia over Miami. What happened there? Everybody was high on the crystal balling Miami for Spells, and all of a sudden it's West Virginia. Zane Durant, same thing. Then he goes back home to Orlando, and now he's a Penn State guy. Like, what's going on there? And I get it. Kids are like that, right? Kids change their mind more than their underwear. I understand. But it's kind of weird to me, man. There's something going on, or maybe there isn't, right? Maybe I'm just getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking emotionally as a fan, because that's what happens too, right? At the same time, right. Fans are emotional, man. It's short for fanatic, right? So they get emotional about even the smallest thing. Like, it could have been a 1-star linebacker that we lost out to, that committed to, East Mississippi Junior Blind College. It doesn't matter. The fans are going to freak out, right? So they're going to get emotional. Oh, man, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a terrible coach. Fire him right now. I get that. But at the same time, like, you want to see them land some of the big fish already. And I know some of these blue chip guys, like you mentioned, Paul, are going to commit later on, right? They're going to wait till early signing period, like a week before the early signing period. Because right now, forget about the late signing day, right? It's all about the December date. Yep. So, I think that what's important is to understand is to understand what's going on right now with recruiting. And I just don't know if anybody knows. I don't know. And a lot of people are saying, well, do they really even have a plan? I'm sure they do. But I think the plan's got to be a little bit better. I think that, you get 26 top recruits in here a couple of weeks ago on visits, the barbecue. You get all these big guys and you land 2 out of everybody. It's a little bit concerning because you were looking at, again, Spells and Durant and some of these other big names that are here, and they still haven't pulled Basaint. Like, what's he going to take for Basaint? Like, flip a coin already, dude. Let's go. Like everybody's talking about, and that's the whole thing. Is Miami playing it too safe? Are they kind of laying back too much? Right? Are they kind of just saying like, well, don't worry about it. Listen, it's you take your time because we don't want you to commit. No, should they have put a little more pressure? Listen, recruiting is a sales. It's a sales tactic. It's the name of the game. Sales is the name of the game, and you have to sell yourself, and then you have to close. And in regular sales, because I'm in sales in my everyday life, if you wait too long, someone else is going to come and snatch them, regardless of how hot it is. Right? So follow up, and close the deal. That's the name of the game. Danny, I know that you're kind of you're there. You understand what's going on. Talk to me a little bit about what you're noticing. Are you worried? What do you think is going on with the program right now from a recruiting standpoint?
Like you said, I think they may be playing it a little too conservatively. Right now, like you said, these high school kids, they change their minds so frequently, and it could be something as simple as their friends saying, hey, I'm going to X school, you should come with me, and then boom, they're committed. Now, I will say that a lot of the programs that I follow and some of the programs that I cover have done their work towards September, October, towards the later part of the year, once recruits have, gotten visits to campus. Now, usually when that happens, there's a solid base with these recruiting classes where, school Y has talked to these prospects. They already have maybe 5 or 6 commitments, and then the ones that go on campus for a big game, those are the ones that they seal the deal with in September or October. So right now, Miami, I believe their class is ranked 78th overall nationally and 14th overall in the ACC for 2022. So they do have, 3 commitments, quality players, but I would like to see them, maybe like you said, be a little bit more aggressive, because as soon as, campus visits start happening and there's games in the fall, you want to have a solid base of a recruiting class to where you don't need to really worry about getting a certain amount of players. You just want to land, big fish to kind of cap off the class. Right now, especially like you said, with the barbecue and things like that, when they had all these talented prospects come in and they were only able to land 2, that's a little bit concerning. And, college recruiting is ruthless. These teams know who they want, and let's be real here, they're going to do whatever it takes to get the kid to come to their school. So, Miami certainly has a lot of work to do in the fall. I'm hoping this is more of a later class for them. But right now, things are looking a little bit shaky.
So you mentioned a couple of things, but I also want to go to what Max said here in the chat. Max Kesselhall. Sure. Thanks for. I know Manny hasn't put it up because he's a little bit backed up, but there's more linebackers on the list, just not known to the public. I get that. I understand. Yeah. Is that a little bit concerning also that they're not known to the public? Does that mean that they're not high-end 4-star, 5-star guys? Or is it that they're recruiting guys and not letting anybody know who it is that they're recruiting? Not that it really matters, because at the end of the day, the staff doesn't care if we know who it is or who it isn't. But at the same time, like, who are these kids? Are they, are they top-notch guys, or are they unknowns, people that we don't know? Then at that same time, that's still kind of worrisome as well, because I understand, stars don't matter. The stars matter, right? Okay, perfect. They're high-end 4 and 5 stars. Good. Stars matter, man. I don't care what anybody says, right? Tell that to Clemson. Tell that to Auburn. Tell that to Ohio State, Alabama. Yeah. Tell that to those guys that stars don't matter. I want to see those big times. And he mentioned something else. Or they're specifically they are being quiet. Okay, fair enough. At the end of the day, like we understand that, right, Max? We understand that. Paul, Danny, we all understand that. But
yeah,
unfortunately, we're here. We're kind of feeding the fans and kind of trying to give them some information. And it's kind of tough because we don't know what's going on. Miami's playing it really close to the vest. I know there's a kid, Justin Metlock, out of Texas as well, that I know they're looking at, and some other kids. Obviously, you mentioned Paul Jackson and Basainth, and I'm sure there's going to be some more names that are going to start to pop up. But it's worrisome in the sense that I just think they need to be a little bit more aggressive, right? With some of the ways that they do this, some of the ways that they recruit some of these kids, because at the end of the day, some of these kids, are not going to wait around forever for an offer either, right? You have to be able to evaluate and offer and get some of these kids ready. So look, if that's the case and they're high on some big time 4-stars and 5-star players, then that's great. We as a fan want to see the commitment list longer.
Yep.
Maybe they still do have these silent commits that Manny was talking about recently. Who knows who they are? We still got some other big names that are going to commit in July. Paul, I don't know if you were able to pull up some names that could possibly still be pulling the trigger this month. I know there's some big names out there. I think that God, what's his kid's? Oh,
Chris Graves.
Chris Graves is tomorrow. So
Yeah.
that's a big one. And right now, I know that he's been crystal ball to Miami, really, by most recruiting pundits out there. So, look, that's a big time cornerback right there. That's a huge prospect.
Need.
At another position of need, but not only that, like he's a legitimate, 4-star kid, very talented, probably on the top of the list for Miami as far as the cornerbacks are concerned, right alongside Fegans and Jaheim Singletary and some of those other guys. So, still a lot of time left. Right now is still, I believe it's still the dead period right now as well. They went back into another dead period. I think it's going to last about 3 weeks. So, there's still going to be a lot of things going on. I kind of want to close out the recruiting segment a little bit by talking about some of the kids that maybe the fans want to hear about that are still looking at Miami hard. Paul, I don't know if you got a list or if you got some names there that maybe you can share with us and we can kind of go over it a little bit.
I'm going to look through it now. I mean, obviously, Graves seems more than likely that he'll commit to Miami tomorrow. There's like 6 or 7 crystal balls that are kind of, and they've been there since like last month. So and you guys already mentioned that position of need. He's a legit 4-star guy, but from what I've heard, he plays with an edge. But he plays with an edge and an ego, and it's kind of like the guy that Miami really needs.
Yeah,
like he
especially at that position.
Yeah. Like he'll talk that ish in your face. He's not afraid to do that at all. And it's kind of cool that you're kind of setting up a little pipeline now with that Bishop Farouk, because they did take Malik Curtis from there last year. So
that's his cousin, by the way. Chris Graves and Malik Curtis are cousins. So that's that's something that's playing into that, which is nice. Here's a little bit of a list here. Daughtry Richardson, who has we've all along thought Miami was a place for him. Isaiah Horton, I think, is a kid that we need. Okay, him along with what's his name? Gibson? Is it Jaden Gibson?
Jaden Gibson in Orlando. Yeah, he's good too.
Yeah, he's another big time guy that we need. Flip Carswell is a kid that's been crystal ball to Miami now. Big offensive lineman. Nick Cole is a safety / striker that I know Miami's looking at. Devin Jackson, again, he's another kid. All these kids are going to commit this month. Okay, and potentially Dequan Fegans, whatever his last name is.
Out of Alabama, right?
Yeah, he's a kid that I think it's between Alabama and Miami, really. So, and things seem to be looking really good for Fegans as well. So,
has Bama offered him? That's what I wondered.
That's a good question. Maybe Max will answer that because he's probably listening to us right now.
I figured that like if he was sitting on a legit Bama offer, there's no way he could turn that down versus Miami. I mean, no offense, y'all, but I'm just being real.
None taken.
Thanks. Yeah. Also, another receiver, I think they offered Sean Wilson out of New York.
From New York, yeah. He showed up and he played really well at Paradise. He showed up. So I think he has a committable offer from Bama, Fegans. So I think that it's going to be a battle with them. But look, listen, we've been doing a lot better competing against some of these bigger these big time schools. So would I be surprised if he chooses Miami over Alabama? No. Look, you got to think that Bama has probably 5 or 6 5-star, 4-star guys that are ready to commit and pull the trigger also. So is there room? No. And that's going to potentially play in Miami's favor with maybe a kid like Fegans. So, we've got so many things going on out there, so many players that'll be committing this month. And I think that out of that list that we mentioned, Richardson, Horton, Carswell, Cole, Devin Jackson, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys, right? I think we could potentially land all 6. I don't want to say we will, because God knows that that's how it never works out. But listen, if we get 4 or 5 out of 6, I mean, that's huge. That's huge, especially the level of talent, from the kids that are on that list right there. So, and if we land Fegans, even better. I think that if you land 3 or 4 of these guys, then the momentum will start to build, and other kids will start, kind of saying, okay, well, I mean, look at the level of talent that Miami's pulling in, and we need that. We thought that was going to happen with Kamari Rogers and Ibieta, but it just hasn't happened yet. So hopefully it'll get going so the fans can kind of relax a little bit.
Yes.
We kind of want to turn our attention a little bit now to name, image, and likeness. And man, it's the biggest story in college sports, bar none. I don't think there's anything else right now that can kind of compare to what's going on around the league, but specifically what's going on at the University of Miami as well. Danny Gillette, I kind of wanted to talk to you. I wanted you to kind of start us off there because I know you got some things to say about it. I'm excited to see what Miami's doing. I'm excited to see, all these players are taking advantage of what's rightfully theirs, right? If the school can make money on their name, image, and likeness, they should be able to as well. Now, right, I know you have some things to say, and maybe this is where you want to kind of head with that. Is this going to do colleges and schools and players need to start treading a little lighter, not to get in trouble with certain things? Because someone's going to drop the ball and something's going to go wrong. Talk to me a little bit about what you feel about this NIL and where it's headed, and how comfortable are you with the players kind of taking advantage of it and really doing good by it?
It's a very complex question because I love the fact that players are allowed to, take advantage of, their name, image, and likeness and be able to make some money off of it. I've wanted this to happen for years. I've always thought that, college athletes, put so much time and effort into their programs and the school makes a ton of money. And there's people that say, yeah, well, they're getting the free education. Well, sure, but when they can't even sell their own autograph to make money, and while the school is selling these kids' jerseys for $95, then there's something, I think, fundamentally wrong with that. I love the fact that a lot of these kids have been able to go out and get endorsement deals. I've seen some already from various programs. Barstool Sports has launched a whole Barstool athlete type of campaign where they're signing all these kids and stuff, and that's great. I'm interested to see where the boosters and people of that nature come in with this, because there is going to be some big money thrown around, and with everything, there's a loophole to get good things into certain programs and get player X to come in here. And where is the gray area going to be? Is it going to turn into boosters just offering players money to go to the school? And are they going to somehow disguise it as, an endorsement deal or things like that? I'm more interested to see where the money is going to go that we don't know about, the endorsement deals that aren't tweeted out, that we don't see from the players. How is this going to change college recruiting? I am happy for the players that they can finally get some money and, make a living, I guess you could say, off of their name and image. But what's all the backroom money, I'll call it. What's that going to do, and how is that going to play out without, getting major recruiting violations? Is that going to change the game completely? I'm excited to see where that ends up.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
You're starting to see agencies creating separate entities, marketing companies, right? And using that to bring in players, to endorse them, to help them with their marketing, being their marketing managers, right? But it's an agency, right? So it's an extent. Like, where does the line get blurred? Where does it cross? Where now you're starting to become legitimately a professional if you're working with an agency, right? So that's going to be, I think that's going to be the trickiest part, like you mentioned, Denny, is are they going to try to lure them in with endorsement deals beforehand? Can they do that? Is that possible? I mean, is that a thing? Because what happens if a high school player falls into that and gets in trouble? Does he now have to sit out his senior year or even his junior year and not be able to play high school football anymore? Because now he's starting to sign these professional contracts, So yeah, it is going to be interesting to see. But on the opposite end, I love what the players are doing now. I love what the guys like De'Aaron King is doing. Not only is he, taking advantage of it for himself, but he's also creating a committee amongst all the players to be able to distribute this wealth amongst everyone who may not be getting these huge deals, right? I think that's huge because you're going to see greed and envy, and you're going to see some of the players that are second and third string guys, now say, well, look at this guy, this arrogant bastard, this quarterback is getting all these deals, doesn't give a crap about us, I mean, what do I care now, right? So you don't want that to happen. So I'm glad that De'Aaron King came out, and again, being a trendsetter, right? And Miami always gets knocked for doing all this stuff, and hey, what are you doing? You sound ridiculous. Yet everybody starts to follow suit and copy, right? And so you're going to see other players, you're going to see other teams from other programs do the same thing. But I think people need to remember that what we're doing down here, a lot of other players and coaches and staffs and programs aren't doing. So I think that, again, it's going to tie into recruiting. And I think it's going to help Miami start to land some of these big fish as well because of the way that they are going about the whole entire situation. Paul, I know you're looking up some stuff, I think, about De'Aaron King and some of the deals that he may have signed or some of the things that he's putting together. Talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing, what your feel is, and your take is on this name, image, and likeness. And by the way, before we even get to that, Max, the guys from Kane's Insight tonight at 8 o'clock are actually going to have an interview with the Miami compliance and digital guys to talk about exactly what we're talking about now, the university perspective about the name, image, and likeness on Kane's Insight. So check that out on the YouTube network, which, by the way, we are a part of also. Make sure you guys check that out at 8 p.m., whoever's listening in. Tune in if you really want to know about the name and image and likeness. We're just here talking crap about it. Paul, what's up?
So I'm still trying to wrap my head around, not wrap my head, that's a weird way to put it, but I am just like kind of laughing still at the deal that Gilbert Frierson got with Lomelo's Meat Market.
Yeah.
That third picture of him holding the T-bones in his hands is like the hardest picture I've seen like all year. But I mean, no, this kind of
really is that the hardest picture you've seen all year?
Well, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. But man, like it's so crazy just how, because I mean, obviously being the quarterback of University of Miami football team is it's a big deal. But the amount of, I guess, deals and notoriety that De'Aaron King has gotten since, this whole thing kind of unraveled is crazy to me. Like, you would have thought that he was like the starting quarterback for the Dolphins. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he makes at least 6 digits off all of his deals.
I'm sure he will.
Oh yeah, this is not even including because I know he's also starting a podcast with Ryan Ragone, who the former walk-on, now scholarship linebacker. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you can easily get good sponsorship deals out of that too. I mean, just getting insight from a student athlete.
Do you know how many fans are going to want to listen into all that stuff? It's unbelievable. He's going to get everybody to listen in. Yeah,
it's going to be intriguing because you don't really. I mean, even for us too, like the most perspective we'll get from these guys is like do the press conferences, and that's it.
Right.
But to now, with the podcast, with the podcast platform, like they're going to give you. I mean, I don't know how real they will be, but they'll definitely be a lot more realer than kind of giving us a robotic professional talk they gave us during press conferences. So,
Well, they can talk more now. Now they can talk. They're a little more open to be it. Yeah,
it's a lot less restricted.
Right.
And then I think now, I mean, it's crazy because there's also I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, but also the American Top Team deal with, let me get his name right. It is Dan Lambert, who basically who gave an opportunity for everybody on the team to make money. I brought this up last show too, where, you got to think about it. Not all these guys come from well-off situations. As real as it is, some guys come from the hood where, their parents are probably living paycheck to paycheck, and they're just getting as much scraps as they can to just make sure that there's food on the table. And even for this, $500 a month is still honestly a lot of money. It's still a great amount of money to cover a good amount of bills. And just at least give their families at least not only money. It's not only money for Rufus to send home, but it's I don't know if a lot of their families are sending money to these kids, just to kind of give them an extra meal, here and there, just kind of spoil themselves. It definitely puts these guys at ease, and makes their life a lot easier. I mean, it's this is the first deal of its kind probably in the nation. I haven't heard of anything. Of any other school that has this opportunity, this is $6,000 a year for these kids.
It's unbelievable.
And, yeah,
it's not only for them, but it's for their families also, right? So
yeah.
I mean,
like you mentioned,
that's a big thing.
Like you mentioned too, a lot of the second and third string guys might not get these opportunities, so it's a really, really big deal. And this is, but also kind of alluding to what Danny said, this is still something that we're learning about. There could be loopholes, but I think the main also I guess I want to end it on this note. It's a reminder that high school athletes are not eligible for this yet, just yet. Until your name is on that letter of intent, high school athletes cannot profit off the name, image, and likeness. So
right.
I think that. As of right now, though, it's a great opportunity for these guys. I'm super happy for them, but I mean, I think all of us would say there's still a lot to learn about how this will unravel over the next few years.
So we brought on Max here because he was helping us out here with some of these names that we were kind of going blank on. Max Ketzelhald here, joining us on the show. What's up, Max? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thank you. So we got a hard out in about 5 minutes. So I definitely wanted to kind of get your take on both things, right? Recruiting from a recruiting perspective. I know you're really kind of you're probably a little more tuned in to what's going on with regards to should we be worried? Should we not? Are there players out there that we should be excited about that we're not hearing about? Things like that, and also talk to me a little bit about what you think if you think this NIL at the end of the day is going to benefit us. As you can see, Miami being the trendsetter for a lot of things already.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the NIL stuff just because that's what you guys just talked about. I think it's only going to benefit the program. There's already a lot of money that's being dumped into it. Like I mentioned in the chat, Chris is going to be interviewing two of the guys at Miami, kind of explaining things from the university perspective here in about 5 minutes or so. So that's going to be really interesting to listen to and see what these guys have said. But I've talked to some current players on the team, and it's not stuff that's really distracting them from their priorities. They have a lot of people that are kind of helping them broker some of those deals, so they don't have to, use too much of their attention to it. In fact, one of our good buddies who makes some videos and stuff like that for Miami, he actually got an internship with First Round Management. So
yeah, Gabe, right? Gabe, yeah.
So he's been given some juicy details about some of the things that they're doing. I know, Paul, you had mentioned that Gilbert Frierson had signed with the butcher shop, and there's a couple other guys that have signed with them that haven't been announced yet. I know Don Chaney also signed with them and announced it. But there's a couple other guys that have all kind of signed with that. And I made a joke to him. I said, you better be eating your dinners at Don's house, because he and Don are boys. So I'm like, dude, you're getting free Wagyu steaks. Like, you better be going over there for dinner.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, as far as the recruiting goes, man, like, I know you guys said like you're at a 3.5 and you're a little bit higher, Jazz. I'm literally at a 0. The plan, there's a master plan going on right now in Miami, and 99.9% of the people in the fan base have no idea what the plan is. And I'm not going to lie to you and say I know exactly what the plan is, but from what I know, I am very content with where things are at right now. Not that I wouldn't have taken Demario Tolan. I 100% would have taken him. I would have taken Zane Durant. I would have taken Jacoby Spells. But there's a lot of names that a lot of people don't know are in play, that are very seriously in play. And you know, when you talk about the linebacker position as kind of being molded to more of a bigger safety, are playing on the outsides. So when you're looking at linebacker recruiting, you also have to look at the safeties Miami is going for, and that's the only hint I'm going to give. Pay attention to some of the safeties that are out there, because a lot of those guys project to be linebackers in college.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so there was another name that I forgot to mention. I see Fresh just posted it. Jordan Allen's committing also the 17th. So he'll be committing the 17th of July. So that's another name of the list that I kind of had mentioned earlier. You also have Leighton Nelson, who was initially going to commit July 4th. He pushed his date back. He doesn't have a concrete date, but he said it's going to be most likely sometime this month. So there's a lot of guys that could be committing. Like I mentioned, Fegans, he doesn't have a commitment date, but he's a guy that probably ends up committing towards the end of this month, if not sooner. And I know I said it in the chat, he has a very committable offer to Alabama.
So that says a lot that he's still, he's considering Miami and Alabama. Those are probably his top two, I would say, right, Max?
Yeah, so he just dropped a top list, I think either yesterday or 2 days ago. I think there was like South Carolina, Georgia, Miami, Alabama, and maybe another school or two. I'm not sure. But Alabama and Miami are definitely in the driver's seat there on that recruitment.
Awesome stuff. That's why we bring Max on, man. And we appreciate you coming on. I know we got a lot of things going on, and we'll continue to do that, because you guys are kind of tuned in with everything that's going on with recruiting. And I just learned from you guys. You guys are the best. So I truly appreciate you coming on for a few minutes and talking shop with us a little bit. Be on the lookout for a lot of these commitments. I'm sure that next week we'll have some more information. We'll be able to announce Chris Graves tomorrow, so which is kind of looking good for him, which is exciting. So as we continue to move forward with this, we'll have some more information on NIL also and all that. Again, thank you, Danny Gillette. Thank you, Paul, and thanks, Max, for coming on. We'll be back on next Thursday, but make sure you check us out on the YouTube network, and also 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, click like, give us a thumbs up, and always support, again, part of the 5 Reasons Sports Network and 5 Rings Canes. Thank you guys so much again. We'll see you guys next Thursday. Well, actually, next